Welcome to FM Corner. I'm Danny Koontz, Director of Relationship Management for Windy City Equipment. Today on the podcast, a very special guest, Stacy Williams. Stacy's the president of CarePro Painting. How are you today, sir?
I'm doing great, Danny. How are you?
I'm good. Thanks so much for taking time to speak with me today. I usually start with, Stacy, kind of talk a little bit about your career, kind of start to where you are now.
Sure. Well, first of all, I just want to tell you what an honor it is to be here with you today. I certainly think a lot of you on a personal level, but also on a professional level. You've set the bar really high for a lot of people like myself to follow in the industry. So it's really an honor to be here with you today and to be able to call you a friend for sure.
Thank you.
As far as my career goes, I started CarePro Painting back in 2013 with 0 customers and just built it over the years. And we've now been in business over 11 years, and it's been a great ride for us. We have a wonderful team here at CarePro, a great culture. And we're really proud of how far we've come here at CarePro for sure. And a lot of that, the biggest part of that is due to our team here.
Sure. What did you do before CarePro?
Before CarePro, I worked for another company in Nashville that was in the facilities maintenance arena. They brought me in to build their sales processes and just create business opportunities, and everything was going really well for quite some time. And then they had some managerial changes there at the company, and it just became time for me to go into a different direction. And when I did that, I was like, there was something about the painting industry that I liked. And I just knew that we could make a go of that. And so off I went. And it was a scary time for sure. Our kids were younger. But it's funny how certain situations will force you to do something that otherwise you probably wouldn't have even ever tried. So again, we're really proud of how things have turned out and the company that we've built here.
That's great. And I mean, one of the things about painting is, whether they choose your particular company or somebody else is one thing, but everybody's got to have painting.
Everybody's got to have painting.
Everybody's got to have it, So
I mean, any street you go down, on the commercial side anyway, every building you see needs to be painted every 5 to 7 years. And some national chains take better care of their locations than others. A lot of the clients that we work with, they do paint them every 5 years, and they're on just a rotation with so many different locations per year. And we have a lot of good long-term relationships that every year they come back to us and, all right, we've got our budget, it's time to do this again. And we love to see the before and afters come in from the field. Sometimes they'll do a cover change, and those are always fun because you never know what they're going to look like until you actually paint the building. A lot of times you'll see it on the computer screen or on paper, but it's just a totally different feel and look when you see it live. So we really look forward to those opportunities to re-image buildings to new colors. And that happens quite often because there's a lot of competition out there, and these national chains really need to consistently reinvent themselves, to stay relevant, especially within their industry. So we are glad to be a big part of that.
Well, and help me here, but it benefits like a restaurant company if they're doing a group of stores and they're doing them on a 5 or a 7 year, where you can do that in bulk and you have a schedule and you roll them out. They save some money. They're getting done, because what happens on the flip side is facility manager sees one building and says, uh-oh, I need to do that, but I really need to wait 1 more year. And that 1 year turns into 2. And by the time it ever gets done, it's got ton of rotten wood, whatever it may be, along with the paint, and now it's costing so much more, and then you're only doing 1 or 2, not 20, and you can't take advantage of that cost wise, and it just, they get it done, but it costs them a lot more money.
Sure.
Time than
and in our industry, I mean, painting, unfortunately for us, it tends to be down the line on a priority level, and I don't think that it should be, but the fact of the matter is, it just is sometimes. And when HVAC units go out, or the other more expensive trades are needed, then one of the first things that are cut is the painting budget, because again, they'll put it off another year or two, like you were just saying. And there is a cost to that, because as you said, the longer these locations wait in between paint schemes or paint jobs, there is rotted wood and water intrusion, different things like that that can occur that ultimately can be a larger spend down the road. So,
Sure.
but it does happen sometimes.
Yeah, or next door, a brand new
Yeah,
restaurant opens and it looks beautiful
true.
and perfect.
Mm.
And no matter what your building looked like before, it looks worse now.
Yeah,
You
for
know,
sure. Yeah. But like I mentioned, we have a lot of national chains that we're fortunate enough to work with. Like Longhorn Steakhouse, for example. I mean, we've worked with them for, gosh, 7 or 8 years now. And we have such a history with them that, we keep all of our records. And anytime that a new RFM comes on board or what have you, they need to know the history of a particular building. We have all that. And
sure.
their quality is consistent. They deal with the same people here every year because we typically are employees. They stay here. We don't have a lot of turnover
Yeah.
here at our company, so they typically will deal with the same people, year in and year out for their painting projects.
The comfort level that comes with that,
Yeah,
for sure.
sure.
Absolutely. Do you do mostly restaurants? Do you do some retail too? Combination? What do you do?
It's a combination of a lot of industries, restaurants, and thanks to RIFMA, we probably do about 35% of our overall business is into restaurant facilities, and we are truly coast to coast. As I mentioned, Darden, we do a lot of work for other restaurant chains, Texas Roadhouse, Steak and Shake, just a ton of other national brands. But we also do a lot in the retail sector, the convenience stores. We do a ton of work for like Circle K convenience stores, Murphy
Uh,
USA, Racetrack, and others. Automotive, auto body. I mean, there's just a lot of different industries that we work in, and it's always exciting to open up a new industry and
sure.
start working for those brands. You just never know one day to the next where these opportunities are going to come from sometimes.
Sure. What
Mhm.
what do you and your sales team kind of look for in a customer that you're seeking out or go that you are pursuing from your end, wanting to do business? What do you look for and maybe even what turns you away?
Sure. A lot of times we're very rollout based and we customize everything that we do. We create a lot of programs for different national chains that have multi locations. So those are the ones that we typically go after, the ones that have like 10 or more locations. Not that we won't do a one off for,
Sure.
a brand that has 2 locations. But typically, from a sales perspective, we will go out and try to find those that have multiple locations across the country. And, we have those conversations with them about their needs. They're typically working with someone else, and there's always some things that they'll typically share with you that are kind of shortcomings from their other vendor that they're using. And so we gather all that information and gather their specs and where their locations are and things like that, and put together a custom program for them. And and we're not the cheapest, and we'll let them know we're not going to be the cheapest guy out there. We're just not. But I can assure you that the quality will be consistent. The customer service will probably be the best that you've ever received. And so there's a lot of extra things that we bring to the table that maybe their current vendor just doesn't provide for them. A lot of times we hear, well, half the time we don't even know where our vendor is as far as, they'll give them a rollout and they don't keep them updated. They have no clue what locations have been painted, where they are currently. We have a saying here at our office, a customer should never have to ask us for anything like that. We should be proactive, and we are. I mean, they get updates from us every day, telling them exactly where we are, the percentage of completion on the projects that we're currently working on, if we've had weather delays, what have you. They typically don't have any questions about the rollout that we're under with them.
And I think part of that is, and I'm sure you deal with this too, but a lot of facility managers, especially early on, as they're learning their career and so on, they are price driven, and they're
Mhm.
price driven typically because that's the way the finance group does it. It's price driven, and so they'll go for that low price and do the work. And then one of the things they find out during the work is there were other things that should have been quoted to be done, and
Mhm.
it wasn't done, or There were bad places and just got painted over, not replaced, just painted over. And that's what you get for that price. And they sometimes have to go through that to
Yes.
learn why someone else like your company is more money because of what you bring to the table, because it's
Mhm.
not just literally paint. There's so much
Yeah.
more than that.
That's exactly right. I mean, the first thing that we do when we go out, whether it's a new customer or existing, and they've provided us with a list of locations to go and send them a proposal for, is we assess that building, and because they may or may not have been out there within the last year. I mean, a lot of these RFMs are stretched to the max. Their territories are large, and it's just very hard for them to get to these buildings sometimes. And so the first thing that we do is we go out and do a full assessment of that building. And if there is rotted wood or water intrusion, the water intrusion is a big one. I mean, a lot of times that's happening and they don't even know that it's happening until eventually it enters the building. But by that time, the wood is rotted or the CMU blocks deteriorated, the paint scheme certainly deteriorated. So we do a full assessment and we report that back to them within our proposal, like, here's what it'll cost you to repaint the building. Here are some repairs that need to be done, and we do a lot of those minor repairs as well. But they get a full assessment of that project, and then when these repairs are made, they get all the before and after pictures of that as well, so they know that that building is complete and definitely tightened up by the time that we leave there, and everyone
Sure.
signs off on it. So it's we feel that it's about as good a service as can be provided, at least on the commercial painting end of
Sure.
things.
And that's a big help for FMs. And you spoke about them not going as much. COVID changed that,
Oh, it totally.
because COVID eliminated a lot of positions, made people double up. But the trade-off was, well, you'll just work from home. And
Yeah.
when I was a facility manager, you traveled every week. I traveled 50 of 52 weeks every week, going
Wow.
to look at the same buildings in different cities. I mean, every week. That
Yeah.
isn't how it's done anymore. It's a lot more computer based and, with pictures and drawing and, like you said, reports and so on. It's different, and COVID helped change a lot of that.
Sure. And
So
we want to be that provider that they lean on. I
sure,
mean, that's the service that we provide. We want to make their job, at least from a painting perspective. We obviously can't fix everything, but
right,
from the painting perspective, and we want to be that go-to when they have a list of, or they have a painting budget and they know that this list of stores needs to be completed, but they don't know the condition of them or anything like. We love to just take that, assess everything, report everything back to them with all this documentation and pictures and all that. That way, they know exactly what they have out there in the field, regardless of how long it's been since they've been out there,
sure,
and then let them make that decision. And sometimes they may not have the budget to do everything that we're proposing, and then we'll come back and say, okay, well, we can eliminate this, or we can maybe put off painting the light poles this year or something like that. There's different ways that you can reduce
right,
that, but
sure,
still get the overall curb appeal back of the building, which is certainly the most important.
sure, absolutely. What
Yeah.
characteristics do you look for your team members? What do they need to have to be successful? Because you don't have a lot of turnover, so you got a lot of good folks, and they've been there for a while. But what are one or two characteristics that they have that you want?
The number one, Danny, is integrity. I mean, that has to be there, and every with every person here. And I'm a part of every single interview that for anybody that's coming on to our company. I make sure that I go out and interview with them. To try to you can't always tell a person's integrity by that interview, but most of the time you can kind of tell what kind of person you're dealing with. And so we definitely integrity has to be there. Obviously, a work ethic. And they need to fit our culture. I mean, you've met some of our people,
Sure,
Danny, years, and everybody here at our office. I mean, we're truly like a family here, and we all look out for each other, and there's no typical office drama and different things like that. And we truly care deeply for each other, and I would put our culture up against anyone's. I mean, it's just that good of a company culture. And we've got to make sure that even, we could be interviewing someone who has all the attributes that we're looking for, but they just don't quite fit the culture. We won't hire them. I mean,
sure,
because it has to fit our culture here. If not, it could affect things in a negative way, which obviously would affect our entire operation. And we don't want that. Nobody wants that. You know, we're here every single day, and um, we want that experience to be as pleasurable as possible for everyone
Sure.
here. And I
Absolutely.
think that reflects, you know, with our customers, you know, that work with our people here, and they sense that happiness, and they know that, you know, we don't have a lot of turnover and things like that. You know, people tend to stay here with us, and you know,
Absolutely.
I'm not necessarily bragging, but that's really just how it is here, and I'm really proud of that. But we try to
That's
be really
good.
good with our people.
Yeah. Anytime you can have that, where you use the word care, but you have people that
Mhm.
care and you
Yes,
care about them,
I
and
do.
then that leads to the family piece. But then for the customer,
Hmm.
it's a great partnership because you know
Yeah.
what's on the other side. When
Yes,
you know
absolutely.
that and you believe the same, in your company as what the company is you're doing business with
Mhm.
is
Yeah.
huge,
It
huge.
is. It really is. And I know, you know, everybody here knows how much I personally care for them. And I try to show that every day and everything that I do. And I know that they realize that, you know, and they really strive to be the best that they can be, because I always try to be the best that I can be. I'm a firm believer of leading by example.
Sure.
And you know, so and they definitely see that, and I think are better because of it, you know.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's that's the main things that we look for is integrity, work ethic, and fitting our culture for sure.
Outstanding. And you have some great people. I met some of them.
Thank you.
I know some of them
Thank you.
very well, and they are
Yeah.
really, really good people.
Thank you very much. I appreciate you saying that. They feel the same for you too, for sure.
How has your association with RIFMA helped your business?
Gosh, Danny, you know, as I mentioned earlier, I mean, when I started CarePro, we had zero customers. And one of the first things that I did was join RIFMA. I had been a part of RIFMA with the previous company that I was with. And, you know, so that was one of the first things that I did when I could afford to jump in there. We joined RIFMA, and that was the first association that we joined. And it has been, you know, I mentioned earlier about the percentage of work that we do in the restaurant business. And, you know, the biggest part of that is a direct reflection of what we do with RIFMA and our involvement with RIFMA. I tell every vendor that I know, man, if you're not a part of that, you need to be, because it's a great vehicle to grow your business, but it's so much more than that. I mean, to me, I tell everyone that annual conference is like a family reunion, and
Oh,
it truly is. You know, I
sure.
love to see people like you and Keith Moore and Angie and just all these different people, and we don't see each other near enough. And so it's just there's so many good things about RIFMA. I'm so proud to be a part of it, and it's been very good to us, and it's good to, you know, over the past few years, be able to give back to RIFMA as
Yeah.
well, you know,
Yeah.
from a board perspective and things like that. So
Sure.
it's been wonderful.
I share this really quick as a story, but we have a mutual friend and our whole
Mhm.
group does, of someone who's having some health challenges right now. And during the conference, we were all out there and we're talking, and somebody's kind of telling us about this person and kind of what's going on. And you looked around the room, and the conversation was, if something should turn down, we should go. And
Yes.
to see 20 people in a circle within 2 minutes go, I'm there. And
Hmm.
send me a date and a time, and I'm there. And just to watch that
Hmm.
uh, kind of summed up everything that's about Riffman that's not on the business side. But
Totally
the
agree.
friendship side and the piece was, if you say we're going, we go. And
Yes.
that was all there was. Doesn't matter when, doesn't matter what time, we're going.
Mhm.
And I just thought that was special. And just in two
It
minutes,
is.
that was done.
It's so special. It is special, and to me, I think it's very unusual within different industry associations. Believe me, I've belonged to several of them over the years, and some of them I don't belong to anymore, because it's not like that. It's not even close to that. And that's one of the many things that I've always admired about RIFMA is that closeness. And I think a lot of times, you know, salespeople are brought up nowadays to just, you know, chase that home run every time, and they they don't realize the value of these vendor relationships, and it's so important. To me, it's equally as important as trying to build a relationship with some of the restaurant chains. And there's so much knowledge there, and they certainly will help each other. I've helped tons of different people on the vendor side over the years, and I take a lot of pleasure in that. I
Sure,
love to hear,
absolutely.
hey, thanks again for that recommendation, and we're now working with so and so, and to me, that's what it's all about. We're all in this together, and but that is something that's really missed out there on the sales side nowadays. I don't think these salespeople are trained to. Not that that's why you build those relationships, but it certainly helps grow your business on the vendor side. It does, and not to
Absolutely.
mention big
It's not
lifetime
just the
friendship.
sale, right? It's not
Correct.
just the sale. Well,
Yeah.
speaking of Ripley, you had the opportunity to be part of the board of directors as the vendor rep. How was
Yeah.
that? Because I
It
know what
was,
the board thing's about, and whoa,
yeah, RIFMA has over the last few years, it's just it's been so good to me, and it's given me the opportunity to give back. And it started out on the vendor voice committee. I was on there for several years, and then was awarded the vendor of the year award a few years ago, which was just mind blowing for me. But it just made me so proud, really, for our team here, because they're the ones that really make us look good day in and day out, and have helped us build that reputation within the restaurant industry. And so I certainly dedicated that to them. But then after that, I was nominated to serve on the board of directors at RIFMA, and was nominated and selected. So that was just a huge honor. And um, I would, that was the first board that I'd ever served on of that capacity anyway. And I learned so much. And it was very neat to see how things are happening behind the scenes and all the work that goes into it. I mean, you
mhm,
think man, it's just, once they do this a few times, it's just easy to put this together. It's really not. There's
no,
so much that goes into it. But beyond that, there's also a lot of new ideas. There's a lot of good, intelligent people that sit on the board, and we share a lot of different ideas and bounce things off each other, because everyone's goal is to make RIFMA even better every single year. And RIFMA, Debbie takes that very seriously. Everyone at RIFMA does. And to be behind the scenes and see that at the board level and all those conversations, and see some of these conversations happen, and then RIFMA act on it and implement that at the next conference is really, really cool, because you were kind of a part of that. Um, so it was a wonderful experience. It really was.
it
I
was.
hate that I'm now rolled off, but you can't serve forever, right?
Well, then you moved to advisory, and so you
Yes.
still contribute, and you're still a
Yeah.
part. It's just not
Yes,
part of
sir.
the active piece, but that's great
Correct.
too. And
Yeah, it is.
you're always available if they need somebody. Like, hey, we need somebody to step in and do this. Would you do it? Sure.
Sure.
So you still
Absolutely.
have those opportunities. So
Absolutely.
you,
A lot of great people on the advisory council for sure.
sure. You recently had a change in your business. Kind of speak to that for a moment, if you would.
Well, that was something that I would have never dreamed would have ever happened. We were approached, gosh, for several years of company, being the owner of the company. It was very common to once a week, twice a week, get emails from different people. Hey, we love what you're doing at CarePro. We'd love to talk to you about acquiring CarePro and all that. And I never really just considered it, because it was just, I love everything that we have here at our company, and it's taken a lot to build that. And I feel like I owe it to our people here to make sure that any major decision like that, if we ever did consider it, it had to be the right one, no doubt about it. And I owe that to them, and to myself, really, for that matter. But back in, gosh, a little over a year ago, a gentleman come to me that I had known for several years. He was president of a company out of New Jersey, and he reaches out to me, and he was like, "Hey, I would just love to have a conversation with you about CarePro, and we've been watching you guys for a long time. We love what you're doing. We love the reputation that you've built out there, and would you entertain just speaking to us?" And I knew him, so I was like, I'll talk to him just to see what's on their mind. And they actually came to our office here, and we talked like for 3.5 hours about everything, and just, one thing led to another. It started getting serious, and I'm like, oh my gosh, this could happen, and it
Sure.
was so stressful, to be quite honest, because again, you don't want to mess it up, right? Because you've worked so hard to build it. And but as things went along, I contacted a lot of people that this company had acquired previously. I talked to probably 9 different company representatives, and, hey, what was your experience with them? They were like, these people are amazing. And they do everything they say they're going to do. They don't mess with the business. They'll just get behind it and support it, which was everything that they told me that they wanted to do. So in June of last year, we were acquired by Ket Companies out of Fairfield, New Jersey. And they have been an amazing group to work with. They love our culture. They love our people. And they don't mess with us, other than they just, they want to get behind us and support us and help us
Sure.
grow. They're kind of giving us that ability now to really grow a lot faster than probably we ever would. After 11 years, you kind of reach a point to where you realize, if we're going to get any bigger and really expand, then we're going to need a good shot in the arm. And that's exactly what they've given us. And their leadership is phenomenal. And they're very, very smart business people, and they share a lot of different ideas with me. I talk to them every week, and then we go over, the business, where we're headed, and different things that we could do to get better and grow. And it's been amazing. I don't have enough time to really sit here and talk about how great it's been. Most of the time, it doesn't turn out that way. You hear a lot of horror stories, and that was in the back of my mind the whole time. I'm like, man, is this the right thing? And I'm so thankful that we went ahead and did it. And I know that I will be for a long time, and I know that it's great for our people here, and they're all excited, and it was. We were nervous about that. I was certainly nervous, and they were, but they quickly realized, man, I understand why we did what we did, and this has been fantastic for us. So,
Right.
super excited. It's created a lot of opportunities for them with our existing customer base, because they do a lot of trades that we didn't do. Like, they do lot striping, pressure washing programs, hood cleaning, a lot of other facilities services that we never offered. And so we're introducing them to some of our customers that we've worked with for a long time, and vice versa. So we're realizing a lot of those synergies right away, which is certainly helpful for both sides. So it's been great. It really has.
Great. That's super. Because it doesn't
Yeah.
always happen that way.
No, it
Uh,
doesn't.
I've been on the side of being bought, and I know what that
I,
feels like.
I
Fortunately,
know.
we got bought and ended up taking over. That part was cool, but the first part wasn't very good at all. I mean, it's
Right.
different. So
Yeah.
I'm glad to hear that it is, working for you in exactly the way you lined it up. I got a
It,
couple more real quick.
mhm.
What? Give me a saying, Stacy, that you try to live by every day.
One that I've always lived by is treat everyone like you want to be treated. And I live that in my personal life, but also my professional life. Every person I meet or encounter, that's the way I approach that. I treat everyone like I want to be treated. And that goes to our employees, our customers, anything in my life. That's the way I approach it.
And I think that's outstanding. That's
I
a
think it isn't. I mean, it isn't fake. It's just who I am, and that was instilled in me by my parents years ago, and I pass that along to my kids and anyone else that's close to me. I'm like, man, that is the best advice you could ever get. Just be real and treat people like you want to be treated. You can't go wrong.
right. Be who you are.
Be who you
And,
are.
and that's exactly it.
Yeah.
My last question, what's next for you in CarePro Painting? What's the next steps?
With the acquisition from Ket Companies, we're certainly excited about the different opportunities to grow. That's really what we've got, a 5-year plan in place to take CarePro to much further heights than we've gotten to so far in our 11 years. So we're super excited about that, and we're just going to continue to expand across the country. I think in 5 years we will probably triple in size. I think that's ultimately where we're headed to. And there's still a lot of painting to be done out there. A lot of customers that that we're talking to, or potential customers that we're talking to, and trying to work with. And there's a lot of opportunities out there. So I think that the next 5 years will be very exciting for everyone here to be a part of, for sure.
Right. Good stuff. Stacy, thanks so much for taking the time to speak with us today. And if anybody needs your painting done, you need to call Stacy and this guy. Let them take care of you. So
that's right.
Appreciate everybody listening today on the FM Corner podcast, and we'll be talking again next week.